Good evening, everybody. Frat house songs with which you can sing along. New chicks to get your kicks. Planes fly into a mountain last resort. Iran's plans and Congress's rude report. People puke in Chinese style. The NFL draft. And the decisions there are just a pile. Hockey, anyone? Not in Philly. I'd rather watch the Sixers lose. Yeah, it's gotten that chilly. These stories and more with our reduced staff due to sickness in the iOS News headquarters. Tonight with Darren Martinez's Movie Views and Reviews, Ron Maher's Mystic Minute, and Tony Viejo gives us his election 2016 update and his misled thoughts. These stories and more on the I'm Only Serious News Network Sunday paper program.
It's the I'm Only Serious News Network with Dan Mahan, Tony Viejo, Dave Morrow, and Darren Martinez.
Good evening, everyone. Oklahoma University's Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity was disbanded for singing racist songs that included the N-word. Furthermore, the band Lynyrd Skynyrd filed suit against the frat for using the music to their song Sweet Home Alabama and changing the words, but not the meaning. In similar news, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani stated on a radio show that President Obama is to blame for the shooting of 2 police officers in Ferguson, Missouri the other week. He stated, not only isn't Obama addressing the enormous amount of crime committed by blacks, but he too is an N-word. That's what he said. Hillary Clinton is in the hot mess for not using a government email account while she was Secretary of State, instead using a private server under an assumed name. Congressional Republicans stated there was no way to verify if she's turned over all the emails she sent out during her time as Secretary. They immediately voted to continue funding for the NSA and their surveillance of all Americans' communications. Do a little digging, fellas. Speaking of the Congress, 47 Senate Republicans sent a letter to Iran's Ayatollah, whoever, to inform him that the deal being arranged by President Obama may be struck down by Congress. That deal, of course, is for the Iran nuclear arsenal. Several GOP presidential hopefuls also wanted to sign the letter to show their support, prompting Iran to return the sender on the letter, thus allowing them to sign as well. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani wanted to add his name and state that Obama is an N-word too. What is wrong with that guy? We just don't know. Oh, the great state of Utah has become the first state to allow a firing squad for the death penalty sentences, since it's getting harder to acquire the drugs needed for a lethal injection. Isn't there any heroin out there in U-Haul? We hear about it all the time here in the city. Can't we get the Mexican cartels to come up with something? Cracker, please. And how is it we can make nuclear bombs, but we can't make our own death sentence drugs? Turkeys in Indiana are leaving the state as soon as possible, known as getting the flock out of there in turkey land. Not because they're being slaughtered due to a flu bug, but because Indiana just passed a gay bashing law which allows businesses to deny services to anybody they deem gay. There you go, Indiana. Way to get progressive. In international news, a bride in India left her husband standing at the altar after he failed to answer a math question correctly. You thought it only happened here. Suspecting he was a dumbass, she asked him to add 15 plus 6. His answer? 17. She immediately pulled out of the wedding ceremony and flew off on her magic carpet. There you go. A dog in London's premier dog show, The Crufts, was poisoned during the exhibition stage. The poor Irish setter was given beef cubes laced with slug killer. Slug killer? What the hell do you have? Too much salt? That's how I used to kill slugs. Load them up with more than salt and watch them slowly dry out. However, since he was an Irish setter, authorities are checking out the 2 guards from Windsor Castle who attended the event. Still got their bitterness there. Former Italian Premier Silvio Berlusconi was acquitted of all charges stemming from his being accused of soliciting sex from a 17-year-old minor. Whether it's dollars or liras, justice is still for sale the world over. As they say, money talks and then you walk. And if you're poor, slam the door. Yeah, that's how justice is. And finally, international news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi as his friends call him, was re-elected in a close election this week. Of course, he had to use some fear-mongering tactics to win the conservative right-wingers by declaring he'll not give the Palestinians their own state, that the Arab voters were flocking to the polls in droves, and that Germany was poised to take over their airlines if the liberals won election. We don't want that, do we? And next up for us in the news is our very own Tony Viejo giving us an update on the 2016 election madness. Tony, what's going on?
Thanks, Dan. All right, guys, we're a year and a half out from the election for the President of the United States. A year and a half, yay! It's already begun. So, Ted Cruz recently announced his candidacy to run under the Republican banner. Where did he choose to do this? At Liberty University. Because he doesn't want to come out as a moderate, I guess. He doesn't want to come out as a guy that'll reach across the aisle. He wants to come out as a guy that's going to be like, hey, guess what? Christian conservative, your guy right here. You know, he did the typical thing. He came out and talked about his upbringing, being half Cuban. His dad left when he was 3. Mine left when I was 6 months. I'm half Cuban. Got you beat there, Ted. But his dad came back after he found Jesus. Fantastic. Guess my dad never found Jesus, Dan. And then he started going on about how he wants to bring Jesus into government more. And all I could think of is, there's a separation of church and state there, buddy. What's going on there? He wants to repeal the Affordable Health Care Act. Fine. All the Republicans want to do that. But what are you going to substitute it with? What are you going to replace it with? Americans want health care. And again, this is what every other Republican candidate is going to be saying. He wants to abolish the IRS and put out a flat tax. That's good. All right. He's not going to do it, though. No Republican's going to do that. He wants to seal up the borders. Again, we've heard that time and time and time again. We've been hearing about sealing up the borders since the 1800s. He's pro-gun. Okay, yeah, I'm pro-gun too, so we got that going for us. He wants to let the Middle East take care of itself, but back Israel 100%. That doesn't make any sense. That's going to be a problem in the long term, I think. And everyone keeps talking about Iran's nuclear program. He kept bringing that up in his little speech, too. Everyone's been bringing that up for like 12 years. They haven't gotten one yet. They have everything to make it, but it's just not happening. And here's the problem is he's rallying the conservative base, which is great. He needs to rally the base. But moderate Republicans need to come forward. You know, they need to come in with the smaller government mindsets, because that's not going to happen with him. And he's not going to get the nomination anyway. He's not. He's not as high profile as someone else who's going to run. Possibly Mike Huckabee. I like Mike Huckabee, I'm not going to lie. I kid, I don't like Mike Huckabee. And on the Democrat side, still no one has come forward, so still looking like possibly Hillary Clinton. That's scary too to me. Mm-hmm. I wish for a third party, I really do. But we shall see what happens in the coming weeks. I'll have more on Ted Cruz, or unless someone else comes forward, the next time we have a little broadcast here. So with that, thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Tony. Of course, Cruz doesn't realize that Jesus was the one who tossed out the money changers. He should have thought of that before he got him on his side. And apparently he's never heard of what would Jesus do. Because I don't think he'd be closing borders off to anybody, would he? Crack, please. In local news, a 30-year-old man was injured at the Hatfield meat packing plant when a pallet of ham, yeah, that's right, a pallet of ham, fell on his head, thus making him, as his fellow workers called him, a ham sandwich. And a restaurant in Philadelphia's Chinatown was the scene of a major outbreak of food poisoning when nearly 100 guests came down with the combination of non-stop puking and explosive diarrhea. Ooh, that doesn't even sound nice. Chi Mabel Chan, yeah, try to say that 10 times real fast, owner of the Joy Sin Lu restaurant, denied it was from her establishment, stating, "It was from chilly cold weather. and they drank and sang karaoke at a bar. Nice try, Tokyo Rose. It was from your crap-ass food and the many violations that your restaurant has garnered over the last decade. But Penn State University's in the news again, twice in 1 week. Congratulations. This time, a frat at their main campus, the frat named Kappa Delta Rho, as in what row, has been suspended for posting nude pics of women who were either passed out or sleeping. PSU made a point of mentioning in their defense that all the naked women in the picture were of age. That's a step up for up there. Meanwhile, a professor at their Abington campus was arrested on a flight home from Miami after she started yapping about the U.S. government having a dust-up with Venezuela and naming them a terroristic state. She then lit up a smoke in protest and kept on yapping. This was not her first public drunkenness charge, folks. She was also arrested in Horsham 4 years ago. Now that's a kid you want teaching your college grad, don't you? Cracker, please. And in sports, the NFL draft is just a few weeks away now. And Jameis Winston, the Florida State quarterback who's been arrested for shoplifting crab legs from a Florida food market, accused of rape and sexual violence by an FSU student, and disciplined for standing on a table in the school's picnic row while shouting obscenities about women and their vaginas, appears to be headed as the #1 overall pick. In fact, Coach Lovie Smith of the Tampa Bay Bucks, who hold the #1 pick, stated that Winston's off-the-field issues had not deterred Tampa Bay one bit from selecting him, if they so choose. It really looks like that NFL's policy on abuse of women and other family members is helping them clean up their act. Speaking of the draft, the Eagles head coach Chip Kelly downplayed any willingness to trade up in the draft to grab his ex-college quarterback Marcus Mariota. He did, however, trade away last year's starting quarterback, starting running back, and let the starting wide receiver go via free agency. All this while acting like he knows best. At this point, even Jameis Winston would be welcomed by Eagles Nation. Let's face it, Cracker, please. We need some good news around here. Yes. In college basketball, Villanova was upset and bounced from the March Madness tournament. However, they were just carrying on a long tradition of Philadelphia sports teams. Thank you very much, Villanova. Speaking of March Madness, the semifinals of the Suburban March Madness are being held this week, with the finals slated for Monday, April 6th at Jersey's Bar and Grill. So by the time you're watching this episode, you'll be in line for the finals at Jersey's Bar, April 6th. So please make a point of coming out and seeing us all there, 9 o'clock, Monday night, April 6th. Next up for us, we go to some entertainment news with our very own Darren Martinez's movie news, reviews, and what else you should be watching. How you like that, Darren?
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
So, another week, another film. This week I chose to go see It Follows.
It Follows.
Yes, it was an independent horror film that was it's got national distribution, made by a European filmmaker, and it was very well shot. It was good score. The actors were great, but at the end of the film, the payoff just wasn't there. So I was very disappointed. And at the end of the day, like, you know, this movie, there's an entity, somebody following them. When your entity is totally inconsistent throughout the whole film, then you know, there's not much going for you. You know, when your film's called It Follows, and then you're it, you have no direction over it. You have no idea what it does. You know.
At some point they gotta let you know. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, you know, there's no payoff, but it was very well shot. So if you're artsy fartsy and like those kinds of things, then you'll really like this film. You know, I can see there's a lot of filmmakers who are gonna really love this film, whereas mainstream audience members will be like, yeah, this is the monster. This, you know.
I hate that.
I'm not gonna spoil it, you know, too much, but anyway, the score was so good. It reminded me of Halloween immediately. It had the rhythms, and I'm very interested in getting the score for It Follows because it was very powerful. It was so powerful that it makes a lot of people think it was a good movie. Like, that's how great the score is. You know what I mean? It's so good that it makes you think you're watching a better movie than you actually are. So I want to recommend Halloween because I was getting those feelings, and the one thing is it follows you. You know, walks behind you, and Mike Myers doesn't have to walk. You know, he doesn't have to walk. You see him behind a tree, and you're fucking already almost half dead.
Well, you hear the music.
You know? So yeah. So. All right. Well, on to my next.
Jaws is like that too, with the shark coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Next week I'm gonna go see Fast and Furious 7, a big blockbuster film. You know, it's part 7. Not too many action films make it to a part 7, so we can commend it for that. And so I recommend everyone go check out the Fast and Furious. This is the only DVD I have of the whole franchise.
Original.
Yeah, if I had part 6 or 5, I'd say go watch part 6 and part 5. But this is the one I have, so you're gonna have to watch this one.
There's not the continuing storyline. It's just all different stories. Right?
It's different stories, but a lot of they
Same
continue.
actors,
Yeah, they all continue.
Of course, one won't be back for part 8 if they have it.
Yeah, well.
He took the movie too serious.
Yeah, I don't think Ludacris is gonna get re-signed. So.
Yeah, him too.
Anyway, the last film I want to go recommend you guys go check out is Monkey Kingdom. That's gonna go. That's coming out next month in April. Check that one out. And if you happen to have African Cats on DVD, or you can get it on DVD or Blu-ray, check it out. It's also part of Disney Nature. It's one of their first ones that they released a few years back. My girlfriend and I went to go see it, loved it. Every year we go see the Disney Nature films. Monkey Kingdom is our film this year, so we're looking forward to next month.
I didn't even know they came out with them every year.
Yeah, and they're all good. Bears, another excellent one. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's some bears. So back to you, Dan.
Well, thank you, Darren. And Halloween is one of my favorites. I know that. Thank God the Fast and the Furious are ending at 7. There's too many already. Well, next up for us, folks, is our very own Ron Mara with his Mystic Minute. What do you got for us this week, Ron?
Yes, hello and welcome to the Mystic Minute as always. How are you doing out there in the universe, spiritual entities? As for what I have this week, Dan, I have this rare power stone which has recently come into my possession. There are quite a few power stones that can be found in various pockets throughout the universe. What they are is concentrated universe creation energy. Now, as to how one goes about using said energy, no one has quite figured that out, but I'm hoping to get on the path with that. Now, I know this might look like your typical bouncy ball that one might find in an abandoned house.
And acts like it.
Yes. But it should only be a matter of time before I've figured out how to utilize this stone to its fullest potential and achieve a greater peace for all of humanity. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Mystic Minute. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Ron, for that Mystic Minute. Of course, if you're not quite sure how that energy ball works, it might not be a good idea to bounce it around the Paul Dean Studios. You know what I'm saying? Crack a piece. It could be the power of nature in there. Well, next up for us, folks, is our very own Tony Viejo with his misled thoughts. Tony, what do you got?
Thanks, Dan. I was going to start off with something, but Darren brought up one of my favorite movies of all time, Halloween. It's perfect. Everything about it is perfect. From the script, from the shots, from the action, from the screaming, from the lack of blood, through the visceral horror that John Carpenter plays inside your mind. You imply too many things in this movie. It is such a picture-perfect horror movie, and I love it. First, one of my earliest memories, actually, is not from this movie, actually. It's from the sequel, Halloween 2, where Ben Tramer gets smacked by the cop car into the back of a van and set on fire. One of the earliest memories I had as a child. Which brings me to what my misled thought is today, speaking of childhood memories. Ooh, yeah, it's WrestleMania season, guys. Can you feel the excitement and the magic in the air? Can you see it? Can you feel it? Ooh, yeah. It's WrestleMania season, babies and gentlemen. And guess what? It's tonight. And here's my predictions for tonight. All right, first off, on the pre-show, the tag team titles are being defended on the pre-show. What? They're giving that away for free. That's how much of an amazing card that this is. Or is it? Tyson Kidd and Cesaro are the tag team champions. I don't really know who they are. Needless to say, they're going to be competing against The New Day. Oh, that's not all. Los Matadors. And there's more. And the Usos. So pretty much two white guys are going to be defending against two Samoans, two black dudes, and two Hispanic guys. That's how it's going to go down. And tag team title's probably going to go to 2 black guys known in WWE. So, next up on that undercard of greatness is the Andre the Giant's Memorial Battle Royale that they've... Second annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale. Woo, that's a mouthful. And you get a trophy. That's what you get out of that. So that's a 30-man person battle royale that happens at WrestleMania now, because you need another one right after the Royal Rumble. Makes sense. Good idea. I'm for it. Now, on to the main card. We have some Diva competition going on. AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bella Twins in tag team action. Don't care. Don't give a shit. Female wrestling. Right. It's a weird thing about professional wrestling, isn't it? Like, the women are beautiful. They're in latex. You're all like, man, these are some beautiful women. They could just stand there and you'd be thoroughly entertained. The minute they start wrestling, you want to turn off your TV. But when the guys come out in the shorts and the unitards and you're all like watching them wrestle, we're all gay. It's okay. Alrighty. Now, for the Intercontinental Championship, or as I like to call this, the match that they had no clue what to do with these guys, you have Bad News Barrett, the Intercontinental Champion. R-Truth. Yeah, okay. Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, Dolph Ziggler, Stardust, and Daniel Bryan. 7 people in a ladder match for the Intercontinental title? You couldn't come up with stories for any of these guys other than that? Come on. Dolph Ziggler wins it. Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. Why is The Undertaker coming back after he lost his streak to Lesnar to face off against Bray Wyatt? I have no idea. I guess it's the passing of the torch of the Mystic guy. We all know who's going to win that one in the long term. Ron Morrow and his superpower Stone of Destruction.
Yes!
Exactly. Rusev versus John Cena for the U.S. Championship. What did John Cena do to have to wrestle for the U.S. Championship on WrestleMania? Well, how do you fall that far? You were like the past 5 WrestleManias, you headlined pretty much. You were or in the main event somewhere, or the top 2 matches. You're in the United States Championship match at WrestleMania, Cena. Jesus. Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins. Don't care. Oh, John Cena wins the U.S. Championship match, of course, at WrestleMania. Randy Orton, Seth Rollins. Don't really care. Don't. Randy Orton's taking that one. Alrighty. Sting versus Triple H. What? Sting's at WrestleMania? Yes, for those of you that didn't know, Sting is in the WWE right now, and he's wrestling his only match, which is tonight at WrestleMania against Triple H. And the entire career of both these men over 30 years, they've never faced off against each other. As we know, Sting was a WCW guy. Triple H was banging Stephanie McMahon to get ahead in WWE. Match is happening tonight. Yay! Sting wins. Triple H goes back to being nothing. The Authorities disband. And that brings me to the next match, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar wins because the WWE needs a new heel after they disband the Authority after Triple H loses to Sting and Seth Rollins loses to Randy Orton. You can't have your whole amalgam of bad guys all lose and still take charge on the Raw the next night. So all the bad guys are going to lose tonight, excluding Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns is going to have a close finish, but Brock Lesnar is going to hit the F5 at the last second, take him out. It's going to be a beautiful thing, and Brock Lesnar is going to be the champ for a while. Why? Because he just signed a new contract. That's why. And that's what I think about. That's my final thought tonight, misled thought, final moment, whatever the hell this segment's called. It's a WrestleMania moment, man. Oh, yeah, I'm excited. WrestleMania 3. Ooh, Superfly. Jimmy Snuka, Macho Man. Watch that shit on YouTube.
Thank you, Tony, for those misled thoughts. I can't imagine it won't be long before the Iron Sheik comes back, based on Iran's nuclear deal or stamping out the U.S. You know, BB versus the Iron Sheik. I could watch that. Yes. Well, that about wraps it up for our newscast tonight, folks. Thanks again for watching. And don't forget to send your comments in so we can do some more letters from our viewers on one of our upcoming broadcasts. Again, don't forget, the Suburban March Madness is coming to a close after a month long of competition and comedy. I'd like to thank all the comics who have been a part of it. And come on out. Monday, April 6th, by the time you see this broadcast, it should be within a few days. And Jersey's Bar and Grill, Mount Carmel, Glenside, PA. Monday, April 6th, 9 o'clock. See you there.